Don't close your eyes, Caleb Morgan said, tightening both hands around the steering wheel. Rain struck the roof of his battered Ford F-150 so violently that Vanessa Sterling could barely hear him. Brown floodwater rushed past both doors, carrying branches, trash, and pieces of fencing into the darkness. The truck's headlights revealed only 20 feet of broken road before the storm swallowed everything again. "I'm not closing them," Vanessa said, though her voice shook. "You are." "I'm trying to think." "You're trying not to panic. There's a difference." A flash of lightning illuminated the fallen oak blocking the road ahead. Behind them, the creek had swallowed the bridge and carried Vanessa's black SUV into the trees. They had nowhere to go. 8-year-old Sadie Morgan sat behind them, clutching a scratched blue metal box against her chest. Her raincoat was soaked along one shoulder, and her eyes remained fixed on her father. "Dad," she whispered. "The water is getting higher." Caleb checked the line against the passenger door. She was right. Vanessa pulled the old wool blanket tighter around herself. 10 hours earlier, she had laughed when Caleb claimed this truck could survive roads her corporate vehicles could not. Now the faded dashboard, cracked vinyl seats, taped radio dial, and rusted door frame were the only things separating her from the flood. The emergency radio exploded with static. "Cedar Hollow Distribution, can anyone hear us?" Caleb reached for the microphone. A woman's frightened voice broke through. "This is Eleanor Price. The backup power is failing. Smoke is coming from the generator room, and the south fire doors just locked." Caleb's posture changed instantly. "Eleanor, this is Caleb Morgan. Listen carefully. Do not open the generator room. Move everyone to the north loading bay. Use the paper attendance list, not the electronic system. We tried. Grant told security to keep everyone inside until corporate approves an evacuation." Vanessa turned sharply. Grant knew they were still there. Caleb did not answer her. He pressed the radio button again. "How many people?" 140 employees. Some brought family members when the county shelter flooded. "We have 6 children here too." Sadie's grip tightened around the metal box. Another voice shouted behind Eleanor. Then came the sound of something heavy striking metal. "Eleanor." The emergency lights just went out. The radio went silent. Vanessa stared at Caleb. "That is the facility we inspected this morning." Caleb looked through the windshield at the floodwater climbing over the road. "No," he said quietly. "That is the facility you came here to close tomorrow." 10 hours earlier, sunlight had covered Cedar Hollow, Missouri, in a cold December gold. Sterling Ridge Logistics had sent black SUVs, attorneys, analysts, and camera crews into the small county as if preparing for a product launch. Employees gathered outside the distribution center beneath banners announcing a new chapter for the region. Most of them already knew what that meant. Vanessa Sterling, chief executive officer of the company her grandfather had built, stepped from the largest SUV wearing a tailored charcoal coat. Grant Hollis followed beside her, carrying a leather portfolio and the confidence of a man accustomed to speaking for people who were not in the room. Near the loading dock, Caleb knelt beside an open backup control panel. His blue Ford sat 20 feet away, rust visible above both rear tires. Sadie waited inside the cab with a library book and her mother's blue metal box resting on her lap. Grant noticed the truck before he noticed Caleb. "Who parked that relic beside the executive entrance?" Several managers looked toward Caleb. "That would be mine," he said. Grant smiled. "Then do everyone a favor and move it before the investors arrive. It looks like something the county forgot to tow away." A few executives laughed. Caleb closed the electrical panel and wiped his hands on a cloth. Vanessa studied the Ford as though it were evidence supporting Grant's opinion. Companies cannot reach tomorrow while protecting yesterday's broken machinery. The laughter grew louder. Inside the truck, Sadie lowered her book. Caleb saw her expression through the windshield. He did not raise his voice. He did not insult anyone. He simply walked toward the driver's door. Before climbing inside, he looked back at Vanessa. Sometimes what people laugh at is what gets them home. Vanessa gave him a dismissive smile. Just move the truck, Mr. Morgan. Caleb drove it behind the maintenance building. Sadie waited until the executives were out of sight. Why didn't you tell them who you are? Caleb turned off the engine. They already decided who I am. But they were wrong. Being wrong is their responsibility. Becoming cruel because of it would be mine. Sadie looked toward the building. Mom would have said something. Your mother said many things I was smart enough to remember and not always brave enough to follow. He touched the blue metal box. Keep this with you today. Why? Because Grant Hollis is here. Inside the distribution center, Grant presented Vanessa with the acquisition plan. The building employed 140 people. Many families in Cedar Hollow depended on it. Some workers had been there for 30 years. Closing it would save Sterling Ridge nearly $12 million over 3 years. Selling the land to a development group would bring another $8 million. Grant displayed the numbers on a screen. Severance costs are already included. The property can be cleared by spring. Eleanor Price, the facility manager, stood near the back. Cleared. Grant did not look at her. The operation is obsolete. This operation supplies hospitals, schools, and grocery stores across 4 counties. Other facilities can absorb the volume. Not during winter. Grant clicked to the next slide. History and sentiment are not business models, Ms. Price. Vanessa watched the workers through the glass wall. She saw fear, anger, and exhaustion, but she had spent years training herself not to confuse discomfort with bad leadership. What happens to the employees? She asked. Standard severance. Resume assistance. Relocation opportunities where available. Eleanor stepped forward. The nearest Sterling Ridge facility is 200 miles away. Grant finally looked at her. Then they will make adult decisions. Across the room, Caleb removed the cover from the automatic transfer switch that controlled the emergency. Generators. The copper contacts were burned. 2 relays had been replaced with cheaper components. A bypass wire had been installed to prevent the control system from reporting failure. He took photographs. Grant noticed. What are you doing? Checking why the backup system passed inspection when it should have failed. The system was certified last month. Caleb held up one of the damaged relays. Not by anyone who opened this panel. Vanessa walked over. Are you authorized to challenge the inspection? I'm authorized to keep people from dying when the power fails. Grant's smile disappeared. Mr. Morgan is maintenance staff. He has a habit of speaking beyond his position. Caleb met Vanessa's eyes. The report on your tablet is false. Every conversation around them stopped. Vanessa folded her arms. That is a serious accusation. It is a serious system. Do you have proof? I have the original inspection records, purchase orders, photographs, and the emails ordering me to sign a certification I refused to sign. Grant stepped closer. You were dismissed from engineering 11 years ago. Vanessa looked at Caleb again. You worked for Sterling Ridge. Senior systems engineer. Why were you dismissed? Grant answered for him. Repeated insubordination and unauthorized disclosure of internal documents. Caleb's voice remained steady. I refuse to certify unsafe equipment. Grant leaned toward him. You were removed because your judgment became unreliable after your wife became ill. Sadie had entered through the side door and heard him. Caleb's face hardened for the first time. Do not speak about my wife. Grant glanced at the child. Then perhaps employees should not bring family matters into corporate facilities. Sadie's eyes filled with tears. Vanessa saw it. She also saw the investors waiting behind the glass, the acquisition deadline, and the board members expecting a clean decision. She chose the easiest version of authority. "Bring your records to the review tomorrow morning," she told Caleb. "Until then, do not interfere with certified systems." Grant smiled again. Caleb looked at Vanessa for a long moment. "Tomorrow may be too late." "Is that a threat?" "It is a weather forecast." He pointed toward the western windows. Dark clouds were gathering beyond the fields. The National Weather Service had issued a flash flood warning for Cedar Hollow County. Rainfall could exceed 7 inches before midnight. Grant checked his phone. "The storm has shifted north." "No," Caleb said. "Your application is using a 6-hour model. The county emergency channel says the creek is already rising." Vanessa gathered her documents. "We are not shutting down a facility because a dismissed engineer owns an old radio." Caleb turned toward Eleanor. "Keep the north loading bay clear. Print the employee list. Move the propane cylinders away from the south wall." Grant stepped between them. "You no longer have authority to give instructions here." "I never needed authority to warn people. You needed to enter company property." Grant removed Caleb's temporary access badge and handed it to security. "Escort him out." Sadie ran toward her father. Eleanor objected. "He is the only person here who understands the backup system." Grant pointed toward the security guards. "Now." Caleb collected his tools. As he passed Vanessa, he stopped. "If the power fails, the electronic fire doors will lock. The generator room has a damaged fuel return line. Smoke will reach the south corridor before the alarms report it." Vanessa remained silent. Caleb continued. "When that happens, move everyone north and do not wait for Grant's permission." Grant laughed. "You really cannot accept that this company survived without you." Caleb looked at him. "It survived because people kept repairing what you refused to admit was broken." Outside, the wind had begun bending the trees. Caleb loaded his tools into the Ford. Sadie climbed into the passenger seat but did not close the door. "Are those people going to be okay?" Caleb looked back at the distribution center. "I don't know. You warned them. That does not make them safe. What are we going to do?" "We are going to prepare." At their small house outside town, Caleb filled fuel cans, packed blankets, checked tow straps, tested flashlights, and placed a hand crank radio beneath the seat. Sadie watched him move through the garage. "You think we're going back?" "I think the storm will decide where we go." She opened her mother's metal box. Inside were photographs, letters, Caleb's old Sterling Ridge identification card, and a waterproof flash drive. "Is everything on here?" "Everything I could save." "Why didn't you show Ms. Sterling?" "Because evidence only matters to people willing to see it." "Maybe she is." Caleb remembered Vanessa standing silently while security removed him. "Not yet." At the Cedar Hollow Hotel, Vanessa argued with the chairman of the Sterling Ridge board. The board wanted the acquisition signed before markets opened the next morning. Delaying could cost millions. Grant assured them the facility was stable and the weather manageable. Vanessa stood near the window, watching rain begin to strike the glass. "What about Morgan's records?" Grant poured himself a drink. "He has been using those records to threaten the company for years. He said the inspection was falsified. He also blamed Sterling Ridge for his wife's death." Vanessa turned. "He said that?" "Not publicly. Not yet." "What happened to her?" Grant looked toward the rain. "She needed experimental treatment. Caleb demanded the company cover it after he was dismissed. When we refused, he became obsessed." Vanessa felt a brief pull of sympathy. Grant saw it and continued. "He is not dangerous in the conventional sense. He is dangerous because people trust grief more than facts. The hotel lights flickered. Vanessa looked at the ceiling. Grant checked his phone. Temporary outage. Her tablet displayed a severe flood warning. The sheriff closed Millstone Road. The northern section. My driver says the airport route crosses that road. There is a service road along the creek. Is it safe? Grant smiled. It is certified. That word no longer reassured her. Still, the board was calling. Investors were waiting. The acquisition documents had to reach St. Louis before midnight. Vanessa took her coat. I'll drive myself. Grant offered to accompany her. She refused. I need 40 minutes without anyone explaining what I should believe. She left the hotel at 7:17. Rain erased the road within 15 minutes. Her navigation system continued directing her toward Millstone Creek even after the lane markers disappeared beneath water. Vanessa slowed, but she did not stop. She had built her career by moving forward while other people hesitated. The road dipped. Water covered the asphalt. Her SUV entered it and lost traction. The engine stalled. Vanessa turned the key. Nothing. The headlights dimmed. Her phone displayed no service. Water crept over the floor mat. She opened the door and stepped into the current. It struck her legs harder than expected, nearly pulling her beneath the vehicle. She caught the door frame. Then headlights appeared through the storm. The old Ford moved toward her slowly. Caleb had been driving Sadie to Eleanor's farmhouse on higher ground when they saw the hazard lights. Sadie recognized the SUV. That is Ms. Sterling. I know. She let Grant fire you. I know. You are still stopping. Caleb pulled onto the highest section of road. We help people before we decide what they deserve. He secured a tow line, crossed the water, and reached Vanessa's vehicle. When lightning illuminated his face, Vanessa froze. Can you walk? The current is too strong. Then hold my arm and step where I step. She looked toward his truck. That thing cannot pull my SUV out. I am not saving the SUV. He guided her through the water. Minutes after they reached the ford, the current lifted the black vehicle and pushed it into the trees. Vanessa watched it disappear. Caleb handed her the wool blanket. She took it without speaking. Sadie sat behind them with her mother's metal box. Vanessa looked at her. I'm sorry about this morning. Sadie's expression remained guarded. Which part? The question struck harder than anger. The laughing. Your father. The truck. All of it. Sadie looked toward Caleb. He started the engine. This is not the road for apologies, he said. It is the road for getting out alive. They drove toward higher ground until an oak crashed across the road ahead. Caleb stopped. Another tree fell behind them. Then floodwater swallowed the route they had used. They were trapped. That was when the emergency radio called from Cedar Hollow Distribution. Now, as water climbed around the ford, Caleb tried to reach Eleanor again. Static answered. Vanessa pulled out her phone. No signal. The satellite unit under the dash may connect. She found it and dialed Grant. He answered immediately. Vanessa, where are you? Cedar Hollow has lost backup power. 140 employees and 6 children are inside. A pause followed. Eleanor was instructed to maintain shelter protocols. Smoke is coming from the generator room. The fire alarm has not reported a confirmed event. Caleb says the alarm system is delayed. Grant's voice became colder. Morgan is with you. He rescued me. Listen carefully. Do not give him access to your phone, your documents, or any Sterling Ridge communication. Vanessa stared at Caleb. Why? Because he engineered this. The cab became silent. What are you saying? Security discovered his tools near the generator controls. He tampered with the system after he was removed. Caleb looked toward the radio but said nothing. Grant continued. He created a crisis to force the company to acknowledge him. Vanessa remembered Grant's story about Laura. The treatment. The dismissal. The alleged obsession. Caleb, she said, lowering the phone. Did you return to the generator room? No, Grant says your tools were found there. My main toolbox is behind this seat. Not all of it, Grant said through the speaker. We found an insulated relay wrench registered to Morgan. Caleb's jaw tightened. That wrench disappeared 11 years ago. Grant spoke quickly. Vanessa, get away from him. Emergency services are searching for you. Caleb reached for the radio. Vanessa pulled the phone back. Do not touch it. Sadie stared at her. Caleb slowly lowered his hand. You asked why Grant would keep people inside, he said. Now you know. If they evacuate, inspectors enter. If inspectors enter, they find the altered system. Or they find what you did. Sadie's voice rose. My dad did not do anything. Vanessa turned toward her. You do not know everything your father has done. Sadie opened the blue metal box. I know more. Than you. Sadie, Caleb warned. But she removed the old Sterling Ridge badge and placed it in Vanessa's lap. The younger Caleb in the photograph wore a white hard hat and stood beside the engineering team that had designed Cedar Hollow's original safety system. Vanessa looked at him. You built it? I helped design it. Then you know how to make it fail. I also know how to prevent it. Sadie pulled out the waterproof flash drive. This has every report. Vanessa took it. Grant's voice came through the phone. Do not open that drive. It contains stolen corporate material. Caleb looked at Vanessa. Ask him one question. What? Ask why he replaced the original safety relays with parts supplied by Hollis Development Holdings. Grant stopped speaking. Vanessa repeated the question. The silence lasted 4 seconds. Then Grant said, those components met procurement standards. You own Hollis Development Holdings. It is managed through a family trust. Did you redirect safety funds into a company you own? You are in shock, Vanessa. Morgan is manipulating you. Caleb pointed toward the radio. Ask him where his son is. Vanessa frowned. Your son. Grant's voice sharpened. He has nothing to do with this. The emergency radio crackled. Eleanor returned, gasping. Caleb, we counted again. One person is missing. Who? Grant Hollis Jr. A guard saw him enter the records office with a leather case. Vanessa looked at the phone. Grant said nothing. Why is your son in the records office? She asked. He was sent to secure confidential acquisition files. During a flood. Those records cannot be left unsecured. There is smoke in the corridor. He understood the assignment. Caleb stared through the windshield. Vanessa's face changed. You sent your son into an unsafe building to remove evidence. I sent him to protect this company. You knew the system would fail. Do not be dramatic. There are children inside. There are 140 replaceable workers in an obsolete facility. If you destroy this acquisition over Morgan's accusations, the board will remove you before sunrise. Sadie lowered her eyes. Caleb's hand tightened around the steering wheel. Grant continued. Bring me the flash drive. Leave the employees to county emergency services. The roads are gone. Then wait. Caleb took the phone from Vanessa and spoke for the first time. Your son may have 20 minutes before smoke reaches that office. Grant's voice became venomous. You should have stayed gone. You should tell him the truth before I reach him. You will not reach him. The call ended. Vanessa stared at the dark screen. Caleb unfolded a county utility map across the steering wheel. There is an old maintenance trail east of here. That trail crosses the creek. Above the main channel. Will the truck make it? Sadie answered. It always brings us home. Caleb started the engine. The Ford shuddered, then settled into a deep rumble. Vanessa held up the flash drive. If this proves what you say, Grant will go to prison. Evidence can wait. He destroyed your career. His son cannot. They turned off the road and entered the trees. Branches scraped both sides of the truck. Mud pulled at the tires. Water crossed the trail in violent streams. Vanessa held a flashlight near the passenger window. The right side is collapsing. I see it. There's a drop. I see that too. You keep saying that. Because panic does not improve the road. The ground beneath the rear tire gave way. The truck tilted sharply. Sadie screamed. Caleb shifted into reverse, but the tires spun. Water rushed beneath them. Vanessa, get Sadie out through your door. What about you? Get her out. Sadie grabbed her father's shoulder. No, Sadie, listen to me. I'm not leaving you. Caleb turned and held her face between his hands. You are not leaving me. You are giving me room to bring the truck back. Vanessa opened the passenger door. Rain flooded the cab. She climbed onto the stable side of the trail and pulled Sadie after her. Caleb attached the winch cable to a large oak, returned to the cab, and eased the Ford forward while the winch pulled. The rear tire climbed from the washout. Then the oak roots tore from the ground. Move! Caleb shouted. Vanessa dragged Sadie uphill as the tree crashed behind the truck. The Ford surged onto solid ground seconds before the trail collapsed into the creek. Caleb stopped and opened the door. Sadie ran to him. For a moment, he held her with both arms while rain covered them. Vanessa watched the father who had just risked everything to save people who had mocked and dismissed him. Her own father had taught her that power meant never letting anyone see fear. Caleb did not hide his. He simply refused to let it decide what he did next. They reached Cedar Hollow Distribution 12 minutes later. Emergency lights glowed faintly near the north loading bay. Workers stood outside beneath the awning while water filled the parking lot. Eleanor rushed toward the truck. Grant ordered security to lock the north gate. He said no one leaves until the acquisition documents are secured. Vanessa stared at her. Where is security? 2 guards left when smoke entered the south corridor. The chief is still inside. How many people are out? 139 employees and 6 children. Grant Jr. is missing. So is Luis Mendoza. Who is Luis? Night electrician. He went after Grant Jr. A deep explosion shook the building. Flames flashed behind a row of second-floor windows. People screamed and moved toward the flooded parking lot. Caleb jumped onto the loading platform. Everybody stay uphill. Do not enter the water. Eleanor, separate the children and anyone with breathing problems. Count again. A security vehicle raced through the gate. Chief Nolan Briggs stepped out with 2 guards. He pointed at Caleb. Caleb Morgan, step away from the building. Caleb continued opening his toolbox. Briggs drew his hand toward the holster at his belt. I said step away. Vanessa moved between them. What are you doing? We have evidence Morgan sabotaged the generator system. Your evidence was planted. Briggs looked toward Grant's sedan approaching behind him. That is not your determination to make. Grant stepped from the car with 2 attorneys. His suit remained dry beneath a large umbrella. He saw Vanessa alive, then looked immediately at the blue metal box in Sadie's hands. Take the box, he told Briggs. Caleb stepped in front of his daughter. No, Grant. Approached. You have stolen company records and endangered employees. Give them to security. Vanessa held up the flash drive. This is what you want. Grant stopped. You do not understand what is on that. I understand $680,000 was removed from Cedar Hollow's safety budget. Grant's attorneys exchanged glances. You opened stolen files. I heard enough from you. Grant lowered his voice. The board is prepared to remove you. Give me the drive, support the sabotage finding, and I can contain this. Contain what? The scandal. The layoffs. Your role in ignoring Morgan's warning. Vanessa looked toward the workers. You are threatening me in front of 140 witnesses. Grant smiled faintly. They need this company. They will remember events in whatever way keeps their paychecks. Eleanor stepped forward. Not this time. Several workers moved behind her. Grant turned toward Briggs. Arrest Morgan. Briggs hesitated. Grant's expression hardened. Your contract depends on my office. Briggs took out handcuffs. Sadie wrapped both arms around her father. No. Caleb looked toward the burning windows. If you arrest me now, 2 men die. That is not your decision, Briggs said. A weak voice came over Eleanor's radio. Help us. Caleb recognized Luis Mendoza. Luis, where are you? Records corridor. Grant Jr. is trapped under a cabinet. Fire door is locked. Smoke is getting worse. Caleb looked at Briggs. Handcuff me after I bring them out. Grant moved closer. No one enters that building. Vanessa stared at him. Your son is inside. Grant's gaze shifted toward the leather case visible through a records room window. The fire department is coming. The nearest crew is 25 minutes away, Eleanor said. Caleb placed his toolbox on the ground. You have a choice, Briggs. Follow Grant's order and explain 2 bodies, or let me do what your contract should have done. Briggs looked at the flames. Then he returned the handcuffs to his belt. You have 10 minutes. Grant grabbed his arm. You work for me. Briggs pulled away. Not enough to watch your son burn. Caleb turned toward Vanessa. You stay outside. I know. The records wing. No, you need someone to release the north fire door from the security desk. Smoke is already in that corridor. Then we stop wasting time. Sadie grabbed Vanessa's hand. Bring him back. Vanessa looked at the child. I will. Caleb and Vanessa entered through the north service door. The emergency lights pulsed red. Smoke rolled along the ceiling. Somewhere inside, an alarm sounded in short, broken bursts. Caleb tied a wet cloth around Vanessa's mouth. Stay low. Touch only what I touch. They reached the security desk. The control screen was dark. Caleb removed the panel beneath it. The release circuit has been cut. Can you reconnect it? Not from here. Grant had someone disable the manual override. Vanessa looked toward the burning corridor. He planned this. He planned to destroy records. The storm moved faster than he did. A metal door slammed behind them. They turned. Chief Briggs stood on the other side of the glass, striking the locked handle. Someone had sealed the north entrance remotely. Grant's voice came through the wall speaker. Vanessa, place the flash drive on the desk. She looked up at the camera. You locked us inside. I am protecting the company from a saboteur. Caleb searched the ceiling. Where is the camera control? Vanessa pointed toward a locked cabinet. Grant continued. Leave the drive. Move to the north stairwell. Security will release you. What about your son? The fire department will handle him. Caleb stared at the speaker. You never intended for Junior to leave with those records. Grant's voice became quiet. My son made choices. Vanessa understood. Grant had not merely sent Junior to remove evidence. He had locked the doors knowing the fire might erase both the documents and the witness carrying them. You were going to let your own son die. I am trying to save 10,000 jobs from a scandal created by one bitter man. Caleb broke open the camera cabinet. Inside, one cable had been rerouted to a remote access module. He pulled it free. The speaker died. The fire doors clicked. Move, Caleb said. They entered the south corridor. Smoke reduced visibility to a few feet. Water poured from a broken pipe. The floor was slick with oil and ash. They heard Luis coughing. Caleb found him near the records office with blood running down one side of his face. The cabinet fell on Junior, Luis said. I can't lift it. Caleb and Vanessa entered the office. Grant Jr. lay beneath a metal cabinet, one leg trapped. The leather document case rested beside him. When he saw Caleb, shame crossed his face. My father said you caused this. Your father says many things when he is afraid. He told me to destroy the files. Vanessa knelt beside him. Did you? No. I read them. Another explosion shook the room. Flames appeared beyond the corridor window. Caleb examined the cabinet. We lift on 3. Luis, pull him toward you. They raised it several inches. Junior screamed. Luis dragged him free. Caleb checked his leg. Possible fracture. He cannot walk. Vanessa picked up the leather case. Junior grabbed her wrist. My father said if the record survived, he would blame everything on Caleb. What records? Transfers. Inspection orders. Messages. He paid the certification company. He ordered Briggs to plant the wrench. Caleb looked toward the hallway. Say it outside. The alarm changed to a continuous tone. Luis's face went pale. That is the fuel room alarm. Caleb pulled Junior onto his shoulders. We have less than 3 minutes. They moved toward the north corridor. A burning ceiling panel collapsed, blocking the path. Vanessa looked behind them. The record stairwell. It ends near the generator room. It is our only route. They entered the stairwell. Heat rose from below. Smoke thickened. Junior began losing consciousness. Caleb stumbled beneath his weight. Vanessa put Junior's arm over her shoulder. Together they carried him down one flight. A fire door blocked the exit. Caleb used the missing relay wrench found in the hall to pry open the control panel. He stared at it. Grant's planted evidence had become the tool that might save them. He bridged 2 contacts. The door opened. Flames rolled across the ceiling beyond it. Luis coughed and fell. Caleb lowered Junior and went back for him. Vanessa shouted. We don't have time. Caleb lifted. Luis. We make time. They reached the north loading area as the lights failed completely. Outside, workers heard Vanessa pounding against the final door. Briggs and Eleanor pulled it open. Caleb emerged carrying Luis. Vanessa and 2 workers dragged Junior behind him. Seconds later, fire erupted through the records room windows. Eleanor counted again. 140 employees. 6 children. Everyone is out. A wave of relief moved through the crowd. Grant rushed toward his son. Junior opened his eyes. Grant did not ask about his injury. He looked at the leather case in Vanessa's hand. Give me that. Junior stared at his father. You locked the doors. You are confused. You knew I was inside. I was protecting you from criminal exposure. You told me the files mattered more than the building. Grant reached for the case. Junior pulled it against his chest. You were going to let me die. The workers fell silent. Grant looked around and realized everyone had heard. He pointed at Caleb. This man manipulated my son. He staged the entire disaster. Briggs stepped forward. I found the remote lock command on your security channel. Grant turned on him. You were paid to control this site. I was paid to protect it. You planted Morgan's wrench. Briggs said nothing. Vanessa looked at him. Did you? Grant moved closer. Think carefully before you answer. Briggs removed his security badge. He ordered me to place it near the generator panel. Sadie stared at Grant. You tried to send my dad to jail. Grant looked down at her. Your father stole from this company. Caleb stepped between them. You do not speak to my daughter. Grant's composure finally broke. You think saving a few workers makes you important? You were nothing when I removed you 11 years ago, and you are nothing now. Caleb looked toward the employees standing behind him. You needed all this power to make people afraid of you. He pointed toward Sadie. I needed one person to know she could trust me. Grant lunged for the metal box. Briggs caught him. The leather case fell open. Hundreds of pages scattered across the wet loading platform. Workers picked them up. Budget transfers. Altered inspections. Emails ordering the destruction of records. Payments to the certification company. One message carried Vanessa's digital approval. She stared at it. I never signed this. Junior looked at her. My father used your authorization key. Grant laughed bitterly. Do not pretend you are innocent. You wanted Cedar Hollow closed. You rewarded results and punished hesitation. I gave you exactly the company you built. Vanessa could not answer. Because part of it was true. She had not ordered the fraud. She had created the silence that allowed it. Sirens finally approached through the storm. County deputies entered the loading yard. Grant straightened his coat. You cannot detain me based on stolen documents and statements from frightened employees. The lead deputy looked toward Briggs. We can detain you for unlawful confinement, evidence tampering, and interfering with an emergency evacuation. Grant's attorneys stepped forward. Junior spoke before they could. I will testify. Grant turned toward his son. You will destroy this family. Junior's eyes filled with tears. You already did. The deputies led Grant toward a patrol vehicle. He looked back at Vanessa. The board will remove you before breakfast. Vanessa watched him disappear into the rain. He may be right. Caleb stood beside Sadie, exhausted and covered in soot. Then decide what losing your title is worth. By dawn, the rain had weakened. Portable lights illuminated the north loading bay. Workers sat beneath blankets while paramedics treated smoke exposure and minor injuries. Junior had a fractured leg. Luis needed stitches but would recover. The Sterling Ridge board joined an emergency video call displayed on a large monitor. Grant's allies appeared in clean offices hundreds of miles away. The chairman spoke first. Vanessa, surrender control of the investigation and return to St. Louis immediately. The roads are closed. Then remain silent until legal counsel prepares a statement. 140 employees were unlawfully confined in a burning building. That claim is disputed. It was witnessed. The larger issue is your unauthorized disclosure of internal records. Vanessa looked at the workers. The larger issue is that those records prove fraud. A board member leaned toward his camera. You approved the acquisition strategy. I did. You dismissed Mr. Morgan's warning. I did. You authorized Grant Hollis to manage facility security. I did. Then your judgment is compromised. Vanessa took a breath. Yes. The room became still. The chairman had expected denial. She continued. I did not order the fraud, but I rewarded the results it produced. I judged people by titles, appearances, and convenience. I allowed clean reports to matter more than honest warnings. That failure belongs to me. You are admitting liability. I am admitting the truth. The chairman's expression hardened. You are suspended effective immediately. Several workers reacted. Vanessa raised one hand. No. Let them finish. Company security will take possession of all records. No employee is authorized to speak publicly. Caleb stepped toward the monitor. You cannot silence people who nearly died. The chairman looked at him. You are not an employee. No. You made sure of that 11 years ago. We have no verified evidence supporting your allegations. Sadie carried the blue metal box to her father. Caleb removed a sealed envelope. My wife mailed copies of every original report to the Missouri Attorney General before she died. I kept the tracking receipts. The office confirmed delivery yesterday. Vanessa looked at him. You already reported it? Laura did. Why was nothing done? The case was closed after Sterling Ridge supplied altered records. These documents prove which version was false. The chairman's confidence faded. Caleb placed the receipt beside the leather case. And every file on the flash drive was copied automatically to an independent safety archive when Vanessa opened it. Grant had believed taking the drive would erase the evidence. Instead, his attempt to seize it had preserved everything. Vanessa looked at the monitor. You can suspend me. You cannot bury this again. The board ended the call. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then Eleanor approached Vanessa. What happens to the facility now? Vanessa looked at the workers whose jobs she had intended to eliminate. I no longer control that decision. Fear moved through the room. Caleb stepped forward. Then we control what happens next. He spread the original safety plans across a table. The south wing is damaged, but the loading structure is stable. We can operate emergency distribution from the North Bay if the county approves temporary power. Eleanor studied the drawings. For how long? Long enough to supply hospitals and shelters until the roads reopen. What about the company? Caleb looked around the room. The company is not coming to save Cedar Hollow today. He picked up his tools. So Cedar Hollow saves itself. Workers stood. Mechanics inspected the loading equipment. Electricians disconnected the damaged circuits. Drivers reorganized delivery routes. Families from town arrived with food, fuel, generators, and dry clothing. Vanessa removed her ruined executive coat and joined them. A worker handed her a broom. She accepted it. No cameras recorded the moment. No board members applauded. For the first time in years, she worked without authority protecting her from the consequences of being wrong. Caleb repaired the temporary power connection while Sadie sat nearby. You knew Mom sent the reports, she said. I knew. Why didn't you tell anyone? I was waiting until the truth could survive the people trying to destroy it. Sadie looked toward Vanessa sweeping water from the loading bay. Do you trust her now? No, Vanessa heard him. The answer hurt, but she did not object. Caleb continued. Trust is not a reward for one good decision. Vanessa placed the broom against the wall. How many decisions does it take? As many as you spent teaching people not to trust you. 3 weeks later, Grant Hollis was formally charged with evidence tampering, unlawful confinement, fraud, and reckless endangerment. The investigation uncovered contracts routed through companies controlled by his family and millions of dollars diverted from facility maintenance. Chief Briggs accepted a plea agreement in exchange for testifying. Grant Jr. entered rehabilitation for his injured leg and provided investigators with years of internal messages. He refused his father's money and moved into a small apartment near Cedar Hollow. Vanessa remained suspended. The board announced plans to sell the damaged facility and eliminate every position. They expected the workers to surrender. Instead, Caleb, Eleanor, county leaders, and local businesses formed the Cedar Hollow Distribution Cooperative. Hospitals and grocery chains agreed to maintain their contracts if the facility stayed open. But they needed financing. At the public hearing, Sterling Ridge attorneys argued that Cedar Hollow was unsafe, obsolete, and financially irresponsible. Caleb sat beside Sadie in the front row. Vanessa entered alone. The attorneys objected immediately. She is a suspended executive with clear conflicts of interest. Vanessa placed a folder on the table. I am also the largest individual shareholder in Sterling Ridge Logistics. The room stirred. She had sold her home in St. Louis, liquidated most of her private investments, and pledged her shares as security for the cooperative's repair loan. The board attorney stared at her. You would sacrifice your entire position for this facility? Vanessa looked toward Caleb. No. I sacrificed this facility to protect my position. I am correcting the order. The loan was approved. Cedar Hollow remained open. Caleb was offered the role of Chief Operating Officer. He declined. I am an engineer. Eleanor laughed. You are also the only person everyone follows. Then everyone needs better judgment. He eventually accepted a different position, Director of Safety and Technical Training, with authority independent from finance and executive management. He agreed under 3 conditions. Every safety report would be visible to employees. Any worker could stop dangerous operations without retaliation. And the first training scholarship would carry Laura Morgan's name. 6 months after the storm, Cedar Hollow had become the safest and most productive distribution facility in the region. All 140 employees remained. Luis Mendoza led the electrical team. Eleanor managed daily operations. Grant Jr. worked quietly with investigators and volunteered twice a week in the facility's new safety classroom. Vanessa did not return as Chief Executive Officer. She served on the cooperative's unpaid advisory board and spent most meetings listening. One cold evening, Caleb walked outside and found her beside the old Ford. The rust remained. The paint was still faded. The radio dial was still held with tape. But the passenger side heater worked properly for the first time in years. Caleb looked beneath the dashboard. You repaired it. I paid someone who knew what he was doing. You could have replaced the entire truck. I finally understand why that would have been an insult. Sadie climbed into the middle seat. Vanessa stood beside the open passenger door. Is there room? Caleb looked at his daughter. Sadie considered the question. Mom used to say second chances need rules. Vanessa nodded. What are the rules? You do not laugh at the truck. I won't. You listen when Dad warns you. I will. And you do not pretend one brave night fixed everything. Vanessa looked at Caleb. I know it didn't. Sadie opened the passenger door wider. Then you can ride with us. Vanessa climbed inside. Caleb started the engine. The old Ford answered with the same deep, dependable rumble that had carried them through the flood. As they drove past the restored distribution center, Vanessa looked toward the loading bay where 140 names remained on the schedule. She had once believed leadership meant being the strongest person in the room. Caleb had taught her something harder. Leadership was hearing the truth before disaster made it impossible to ignore. It was protecting people who could do nothing for you. It was accepting that an apology did not restore trust. Only changed behavior could do that. Rain began falling softly across the windshield. Sadie reached beneath the seat and pulled out Laura's wool blanket. She spread it across all 3 of them. Vanessa rested one hand on the faded dashboard. Do you think it will get us home? Caleb shifted into gear. It already has. The truck rolled down the wet county road, carrying a single father who had refused to trade dignity for revenge, a child who had protected her mother's truth, and a woman who had finally learned that people do not become valuable when power needs them. They were valuable all along. Sometimes the world simply needs a storm strong enough to wash the arrogance away.